Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Chris back here for the Inside the U Miami Hurricanes Florida State Seminoles pregame show. Looking forward to getting to some in-depth breakdowns and matchups. I want to wait for a little bit just for a few people to get back on, but definitely Lakers all day. Glad you're here. And Mason, I know you're hyped for the game. A lot of people are, but Mason's a unique situation because he's a Florida State fan, but he's a huge fan of the show. And I think he's expecting a Florida State loss like many Miami fans are expecting as well. And I'm going to get into it. Obviously, a big game. Miami's 11-point favorites in the game. Miami has won the last three matchups, looking to make it four in a row. It's only happened, there's only been two other streaks in the series longer for Miami in that win streak. So they're looking to keep that going. And obviously, they want to keep things going. Ranked 12th in the country. Florida State's down, lost their first game against Georgia Tech. So they're looking to take advantage of a Florida State team that is struggling at the moment. But obviously, you guys know about the series. You know how things can change in a hurry. And obviously, Miami's got some positive things going for itself, particularly with the offense. Quarterback D'Eriq King making an impact already, the transfer from Houston. And I think that's going to be the difference in this one as well. Although I do worry a little bit about the run game for Miami. I will get into that in a little bit. But once again, just want to thank everybody for showing up, showing their support. The live stream last night was great with the live game simulation. If you haven't checked that out, go ahead and look at that. It's a HD game, video game modifications done to current game systems. Obviously, they don't make the game anymore. But anyways, it's fun to talk about the team and things like that. Just want to thank everybody for jumping on there. A few things that stand out to me with this game, and I'll get right into it with D'Eriq King. And obviously he's got a lot of things going for him, and a lot of things that Miami can present with the passing game and the rushing game with what D'Eriq can do. I am curious to see, again, another game of, for Rhett Lashley, another game we can see exactly what he's trying to do. We saw the heavy run game in the first game. We saw a little bit more, opening things up a little bit more in the second game with the passing game. But I still think we are looking at an offense that's looking to really establish itself as an identity. Is this, and I think this, maybe we didn't get this right, maybe in the sense that it really feels like Miami wants to run the ball as a strength, as their go-to strength. And I think a lot of people would have expected the other way around, better quarterback, up-tempo offense, fast tempo, things like that with the spread attack, possibly this air raid system. I think a lot of people expected a huge impact in the passing game. I just wonder that we're starting to see maybe that this is going to be a team that relies on its running game. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Obviously, Cameron Harris, third in the nation in rushing so far. Obviously, it's early. Obviously, a lot of teams haven't played yet. But just to note that he actually, that he is off to a good start. But I just wonder, I think this is another game to decide maybe what exactly this offense is going to be. And like I said, I think a lot of people it feels like a lot of people are getting it wrong from what you expected from the preseason discussions and maybe analyzing things. Once again, Rhett Lashley, you look at it, comes from Gus Malzahn's offense. That's his background. And he talked so much about, when people were asking him about the pass, he definitely would say, we want to run the ball. We want to be balanced. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I think the biggest thing is you're getting production from the running game. And I think that's why it's even a possibility, because Harris has run the ball well. You're seeing flashes from Jalen Knighton and Don Chaney Jr. Jalen had the 2 touchdowns last game, but the 75-yarder on a catch. But both of those guys need to get it going a little bit more from last week. Struggled a little bit in their opportunities. So those are the things I want to take a quick look. We'll take a quick look at Miami's leaders. I've talked about Cameron Harris and D'Eriq King, but just want to show you guys real quick a look at the leaders as it stands right now. And I think what you're seeing is just ultra production from different guys at different positions. And talking about Brevin Jordan, I talked about Cameron and D'Eriq, but speaking about Brevin, he's been good the first 2 years. I think you're looking still, in fair or unfair, I think you're looking for more from Brevin. I think you see the ability, you like what he's able to bring to the table, and you just want to see more from him. You want to see more production, more touchdowns. The numbers are a little bit down, maybe compared to other tight ends around the country last year. But what you're seeing right now is exactly what you want to see from Brevin. The 10 catches, 171 yards. No tight end in the country has more right at this point. Again, I know it's early, but it's just showing you how good of a start Brevin is off to. Had the big game last week, the 120 yards. So just playing, doing really well productive. The 47-yard catch. So he's shown his ability to get downfield. He's shown his ability to reach the end zone. Again, touchdown in each game. You liked seeing that. I know there was a little concern from that first game that he wasn't involved in the first half. I wasn't concerned because I believe that they understand they have a weapon there to use, and I felt like that's what we saw in the second game. So it's very good that he's establishing that red zone target. Also, Will Mallory gets in the end zone. So of the 4 touchdown passes that D'Eriq King has thrown to 2 to Brevin at tight end, another one to Will Mallory, and then the other one is to Jalen Knighton, that 75-yard run or catch and run last game. So he's still looking to connect with his receivers. I want to talk about them for sure and a little bit later. I want to break down some stuff that I noticed this week and I actually posted on the site on InsideTheU.com. And just real quick, we had a huge promotion, 60% off a VIP subscription. If you guys are interested in getting some more information on the Hurricanes, other than what you're seeing with the free content and stuff we do with the YouTube channel. So that's kind of what we're looking at with going into the game. And once again, I kind of want to go back to D'Eriq, my thoughts a little bit on what you're seeing with D'Eriq. I just want to also, I think it's very important for D'Eriq to be letting loose, like really see what he's able to do. I think he has a lot of ability. I think they can still maximize. I think there's more to be had from D'Eriq. More production, more positive plays. Really let it loose and get going. And you saw, once again, you saw the increase from last week, so that's a positive. The 141 yards the first game. Obviously, they're relying on the running attack, but this is another step. This is against a defense at Florida State that's got some bigger guys. They've got some talented, you guys remember the names, highly recruited guys in the secondary in particular. Marvin Wilson up front in defensive tackle. That'll be a challenge for Miami's interior line. And then the linebackers, they've got some guys, good size, but you're still kind of waiting. If you're Florida State, you're kind of waiting for those guys to break out. So Miami does have opportunities in this game. I don't think it's going to be a 47-point game like what you saw last week against Louisville with the offense. But I think my point is with D'Eriq, and this hasn't changed. He's just going to keep coming. Like, he's really going to keep this thing going, really keep things moving forward with the offense. And I just feel like he's got that consistency that you've been looking for, that you've been wanting from the quarterback position. And so I think that's a good thing, that maybe we haven't seen the best of him and things are still increasing. And he's still going to get more comfortable with his new teammates, with this offense. And I think that kind of, if we look at this game as a whole, and certainly it's a huge game, and rivalry game and the whole thing, you want to win that. But the way I'm looking at it is, and I've kind of thought this way all the way going through the season, these first 3 games are so key in terms of if you're going to be able to compete with Clemson in that 4th game. Obviously, the last 2 times they've faced each other, completely non-competitive games, and that's going to be the discussion points in 2 weeks. So Miami gets a bye week after this one, and then they go ahead and play at Clemson the following week, number 1 ranked team in the country. So getting everything on point, these first 3 games are so important. I think that's what a lot of fans, maybe if they're being critical, I think you guys are noticing the same thing, and maybe, okay, we need to get this thing tightened up and make sure things are on point, because that's the game you're looking at and you don't want to be embarrassed. You want to compete. Whether or not they can pull off the upset, that remains to be seen, because again, those last 2 games have just been terrible. So that's why this game is so important. Make sure you're tightening up on your passing game. Defense come down on the total yards, over 500 last week. There's certain things to improve on it. And Florida State, the way they've been struggling, I think you're looking, particularly when I say struggle, you're talking about the offensive side of the ball, quarterback situation, and you're looking at Miami being able to take advantage of that. You would hate for Florida State to be able to get in any kind of rhythm going, whether it's passing or rushing, because they lack in both situations at this time. So you definitely, if you're Miami, want to take advantage of that. Kind of just looking real quick here. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. I want to thank everybody. JT Sounds is here. Let's go. Purcell's here. Okay, Lakers all day. Once again, glad you're here. I know you had that first comment of the day, so that was great. Richard's here as well. Scorpio's here. That's awesome. So I appreciate everybody stopping in, talking about a few things with this game. Able to do a little bit last night, but I want to really kind of look at some things and really take a look at maybe some matchups. And I think starting up front with the offensive line situation with Miami, I assume they're going with the same guys that they went with last week, same starting 5. Then conversely going against Florida State's defensive line. So they got Marvin Wilson up front, defensive tackle number 21. Yeah, potential first-round pick. You guys know about him. He's obviously going to be a tough time for Miami. Whether they're going to go with Ja'Kai Clark at left guard, Corey Gaynor at center, right guard DJ Scaife. And I think if we're looking at those three guys facing Wilson, depending on where Wilson lines up, maybe you bring in some double teams with that situation. But I think if I'm looking at those three guys, I think you want to see better performance out of DJ Scaife from what we've seen in the first 2 weeks. You want to see him really put his imprint on the game when they go to that right side, that he's really engaged on his blocks and running when they run the ball and also in pass blocking situations, because I think he's such an important guy. And I think he gets the attention because he was actually, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but he was named team MVP last year. So there's certainly a lot of attention on him. He started a bunch of games at Miami. So I think he's got to step up his play. And this is an important game to do that because of the things Florida State can do with the defensive line, particularly with Wilson. I think Robinson's a guy, if you're Florida State, you're waiting on, I know you're a highly regarded guy, highly recruited, big-time talent, that kind of thing, but you're waiting to see that production. And Kendo not being there makes a difference. But, with Robinson, really got to step it up. So Florida State needs more production from their defensive line. I think the biggest thing that Florida State can do is on the defensive line and the linebackers in a situation where they really want to take away Miami's running game. I think that's what they're going to be doing, wanting to do this game, really put the pressure on the passing game and really put the pressure on, going further downfield in the passing game. So I think those are things to look at, particularly with that lineup with the offensive line. And obviously, Miami's offensive line with the left tackle with John Campbell, looking to still see him out there. And then at right tackle, you're still looking at the same situation with Jared Williams, a guy that's he's really excited about this game. I know he talked about really understanding what it's like to play in this kind of matchup based on how serious everybody was taking things in practice. And I think that's a good sign. Again, a guy from Houston transfers over, first year playing in this game, still a few games into his Miami career. So I think looking at the offensive line, I think those are the things you're looking at. And obviously you want to keep things off the pressure off D'Eriq King with that pass rush. You want him to be able to, once again, gain that confidence, be able to stay in there and make throws downfield, show more, have more connection with his receivers if possible. So I think this is a good time to talk about the receivers. I see it right here. Richard wants to talk about Mark Pope, a breakout game. Maybe you guys have some other comments. Who do you think will have a breakout game for Miami's offense? Or just a big game. Cameron Harris has had 2 big games the first 2 weeks. Maybe you're thinking he's going to pile on and do even more this year or this game. Able to take advantage of Florida State there. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get the run game going the way they've been doing it, the way I think that Rhett Lashlee actually wants this offense to operate. Really rely on that running game because that is his background. He's more of that spread, power spread, he calls it. Gus Malzahn with the run game as opposed to more of the Mike Leach air raid system. More in that, relying on the run game. And they're obviously going to pass the ball. I'm not trying to say that they're not. I just think that there's more of an emphasis on the running game than what was originally expected with this offense. And I think, we'll see tonight, once again, this will be 3 games in, and we'll really get a good look at what kind of team Miami wants to have, what kind of identity they really want to have based on these 3 games with the big game coming up against Clemson. And one of the things that I kind of brought up this week on the website was the wide receiver play. And the thing that I noticed real quick, I want to show you guys this real quick. This is the Pro Football Focus receiving grades. It's an analytics that evaluates a lot of different things other than just catches and drops. They kind of weigh a lot of different things in. And I think that's good. I think it's a good way to kind of evaluate not just the things you're seeing with your eyes. It's a way to kind of go back and really monitor what's going on based on some analytics and maybe some other things you weren't paying attention to in terms of whether it's route running or blocking, those kind of things. But these are the receiving grades. Give you guys a look at it here. Okay, we got the chat going here. I don't know why it does that. But anyways, it's here. I'm glad you guys have been chatting. I think it's great that it shows up. So the way I'm looking at this receiving grades, again, just kind of explain this. And this is just an example of some VIP stuff that I put on the website. If you guys haven't seen kind of some of the stuff that goes on with the website on InsideTheU.com. So here we go. So the receiving grades, you're looking at the overall grades. So Marshall Few leads the wide receivers. These are the 7 wide receivers that have played in the game in the first 2 weeks, the total snaps that they've taken, and then their total catches. Things that stand out to me when I'm looking at this, and obviously you evaluate the 3 starters, the 3 main guys with Harley, Pope, and Wiggins. Things that stand out to me is Wiggins leading by far with the most snaps. And the difference between Wiggins snaps and Harley is a huge difference, over 50 plays total, 25 in each game if you average it out. And then Wiggins just at the 5 catches. I think that production has to pick up. I think his receiving grade is too low. I think he's a guy that has potential to get the ball downfield with his speed. You want to see that production. You want to see him take that jump. You saw flashes last year. You want to see Wiggins pick it up. And I think, he's a guy, and all 3 of those guys were credited with at least 1 drop last week. They had 4 as a group, as the 3 of them. And so I think those are things that definitely need to tighten up in a game like this. Florida State's flipping it with, they give it Asante Samuel. They've got some good size at corner. You'll see Akeem Dent out there, a guy that you guys have known about from recruiting and these matchups as well. So you'll see different guys that you recognize there in the backfield or there in the secondary for Florida State. And I think Miami's receivers definitely need to pick it up. Although I want to make sure we're not making too much to do of the receivers, maybe increasing their production, because once again, with what I was talking about in terms of what identity this Miami offense wants to have, maybe they just want to rely on the tight ends, particularly with Jordan, mix in that, go running game, but mix in the, the passing game with Jordan. That'll be the strength. And then sprinkle in the receiver play because they don't have that true number 1 guy. But the thing is, however you look at it, however much the receivers are going to be used, and only 3 ACC teams have less production and total yards than Miami. Again, just 2 weeks in, but just letting you know kind of where they're standing and the reason why we're kind of bringing this up a little bit. But the key for Miami's receivers is to limit those drops. And Manny Diaz said, look, the only way you can prevent drops is by not playing. Okay? And we all understand that. But the bottom line is the drops compared to catches is too much. Too many drops, too little catches, that kind of thing. Drops are going to happen. Having 4 from your top group is too many in a game that we saw last week. I don't think you can say it any other way than that. So the key will be, while you might not have 100 yards from a receiver each week or anything like that, but they've got to be efficient when the ball gets thrown to them. They've got to be threats, reliable, and things like that. I think that's important. I think it's also important that these 3 receivers at the top of the group with their snap counts stay out in front. And in terms of, there's a big drop-off in terms of how much the coaches trust the other receivers. Jeremiah Payton, the 29 snaps, that came in the first game, didn't play last week. Hopefully he'll play tonight. And then Michael Redding III with the 20 snaps, he's just a freshman, so you're seeing some stuff, but no catches. And then Marshall Few, most of those snaps were in the first game, if not all of them. So, and then Keyshawn Smith got sprinkled in a little bit last week. I think it was because Peyton was out. But anyways, that's kind of what you're looking at. But it's not like, Redding, Smith, or Peyton or Few are really challenging, in my mind, really challenging those top 3 guys. So basically what I'm saying is those are your 3 guys. Those are the ones you're going to roll out. Obviously, if they struggle, they can certainly make a move. I think Peyton's clearly the most obvious choice to really get more snaps. But you really want those 3 guys to really step up. And I think tonight's a potential opportunity because it's another chance. Once again, you talked about developing that relationship with King and his receivers. He said on Monday they watch film together, and then they stay after practice and work on some throws. So that's good to see. And I think that's a lot to do with King really making an emphasis based on some of the things that we've heard in the offseason and just kind of his leadership ability and things like that. So I think that's the big thing with the wide receiver play. Again, whether it's ultra productive or not, that remains to be seen. I think maybe there'll be a little bit too much expectations from these guys, from this group. Although, like I said, I saw somebody thinks Pope's going to have the big game tonight. And you're expecting, you like these guys to perform. I just wonder how high they'll really produce in this offense. And we'll see, though. We'll see tonight. I think this is a big game to me. And if I were to watch one group tonight. I think the wide receiver play is one that I'd really be watching, really paying attention to how they do, because, again, not just that you want them to be productive, but at this point you want them to bounce back from what they did last week. So we'll see. And again, none of these 7 have a touchdown yet. So I think it'd be great for the confidence of the group to reach that end zone. You'd hate for that mark to continue moving forward. And again, once again, De'Aaron King is such a asset to the team that I think he's going to realize that and see what he can do in terms of getting these guys opportunities and get him the ball when he can. So what else do we got here? We got other things. We're talking about the receivers. We talked about the Miami offensive line and how that kind of goes against what Florida State has. Mentioned Brevin Jordan, kind of what they're doing with the linebacker situation. I think it's another opportunity for him to get opportunities to get the ball. So I think that's good. So we'll see how that works out. And again, and you guys are probably hearing me saying this, but the Will Mallory thing, I thought for sure last week it was going to break that trend of, again, only one game between him and Brevin with more than one catch in the same game. You saw that second catch. You saw the touchdown by Will. I thought that was great, the way he turned his body, got upfield, and scored 17 yards out. I think that was really good. Good play by Derek. One thing that Derek does really well is delivers the ball with a lot of velocity, and I think that the guys are going to get used to that, especially in the red zone in tight spots. Guys got to make catches. I think even Brevin, we've seen Brevin kind of notice that as well. I think the thing is with Will, so that second catch was that big long, I think it was 74 yards that was called back on a penalty there. That would have been his second catch. I thought it was going to be over that. Let's get away from that because you really want the both of them to be productive. But then again, Will, like we've seen, he gets that touchdown early and then that's it. He didn't have another catch the rest of the game. So I'd like to see him, once again, he's getting the snaps. I think like for him to be more productive, particularly if the wide receivers are not catching passes at the rate that you'd hope. Then you'd like Will to be in there and maybe take those reps and really provide some opportunities in the passing game. Once again, he's the biggest receiving target that they have, and I think you saw in that long play that didn't count. You saw in the touchdown that he does have ability. So let's go ahead and see if there's a way to get him more involved, the both of them. And I think that can be Miami's strength. Once again, if that's the route they want to go with their tight end play and their running game situation. So what else do we got here? I want to check out some of the comments. Okay, everybody's going on here. The mic connection is dirty or faulty, cutting in and out. I apologize on that. Are we still having audio issues? Let me know. We'll test it out here. I want to make sure it's okay. But yeah, let me know in the comment. So just sounds like you guys are having problems with the audio. Let me know. That's disappointing that it's not working. But yeah, we might wrap this up soon because if I can't get the audio to work, there's no point in doing this. But let me know. Okay, you got it all. Okay. Yeah, I reconnected it. I wonder if it was, man, I apologize. I thought I tested it out. But anyways, Lakers all day. Hopefully it's good for everybody as well as yourself. Definitely something going on. Okay, I will check it out afterwards. I hate to just cut it off, but I wasn't planning on doing this real long today. But yeah, disappointing because I know it's frustrating. Obviously, jump on you want to hear at least working at a good rate. So, but yeah, I want to show you guys another clip here. Some defensive stuff to look at. Actually, let's look at Florida State stuff real quick. Some of the things they've got going on. And I think these are the players to watch tonight. I think when you're looking at this, I talked about Marvin Wilson, and kind of what stands out to me is, a lot of hype, a lot of attention. And then in that first game, he goes ahead and leads the defense with the Pro Football Focus rating. So that was good that he delivered it on terms of Florida State, because it's not just about, the hype and things like that. So I think he's the one, 21 up the middle. And you guys know the importance of a defensive tackle, the things that it can do for a defense, the impact it can make. So I think that'll be important for Miami to really make sure they tighten up on him. I want to talk about Tamorrion Terry. He's wearing number 5. You see 15 in the picture, but he switched to 5 this year. So he's at 6'4", 210. So he's got the good size that you like at receiver. That'll certainly be a challenge in itself. But the one thing I think, and he had over 1,000 yards last year. This is the third straight 1,000-yard receiver Miami has faced in the game. So they've done a good job for the most part. They held, Watkins to three catches. Tutu goes for over 100, so you can't say that they held him down. And he had the 2 scores. So both of those guys actually scored against Miami. You'd like for Terry to stay out out of the end zone. So yeah, maybe you go Al Blades, or do you go DJ Ivy? I know people want to see more improved play there. But I think with Al, you feel a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more confident that he's going to compete a little bit better with the ball in the air. So yeah, I think the way you're looking at it, if you were to put a corner on a receiver, I think Blades is the guy that you'd like to see on him more than Ivy. And it'll just be one to watch, because the way Miami runs their corners, and they also have Corey Couch as well. But he's smaller at 5'10", 172. So you'd like to go with more of the 6'1", 190 corners that they have in Blades and Ivy as the options. And I expect that to happen. I'd be surprised if you see Couch on Terry tonight. Because it doesn't make sense in my mind when you got those other 2 guys, assuming those guys are producing and doing well. But the big thing is that big playability for Terry. You see it right there. The 6 catches over 60 yards in last year, which led the country. I think that's a big stat, because once again, you're looking at a guy that 6'4", 210, maybe you're thinking more of a possession guy, but he does have that downfield threat. That's why he's considered a high potential draft pick. And Miami has done a good job the first 2 games that they've faced Terry in his career. Just around 70 yards total in the 2 games. So they've done a good job. They've been aware of him. One thing that Al Blades said when I asked about the matchup with Terry is he said, we got to make sure that we're not, or this was Bubba Bolden that said that, I apologize. But Bubba said that we make sure that we're not only focused on Terry and let one of these other guys go off. Wilson's a guy that can make catches, or Helton in the slot, smaller receiver. But those are 2 other guys. Warren Thompson's a guy. So there are some other guys there, but Terry's certainly the guy that really has the biggest potential. And I think he's going to be the one to watch for the offense. Obviously, with the struggles at quarterback with Blackman, you don't want him to get into any kind of rhythm. And if I'm Blackman and the FSU offense, I'm looking to get the ball to Terry because of his playmaking ability, because he can make catches and really help your passing game out. So I think those are the things you're looking at if you're the FSU offense. Really getting Terry involved in the game. Don't let him get shadowed by a safety too much. Really find ways to get him the ball. And I think that'll be the big key for Miami, because while those other guys are threats, it's not nearly the same kind of threat for Miami, for what FSU would like to do. The running game, I'm not, I know other running backs the first 2 weeks have ran the ball okay against Miami. Obviously a big game last week with Hawkins. So, but I don't think Florida State's got the backs to do that. I'd be very surprised if they were able to get the running game going. I don't think very much of what they have right now based on what I've seen, based on what they've done in their careers. So I think if you're looking at something in terms of a key, and I said this last night, I think a key for Florida State is to play well early, particularly on defense, really either take away the passing game or the running game from Miami. One of them they've got to be good at early on in the game, in that first half, that first quarter. The other thing is, if Florida State's able to run the ball at any sort of capacity and do well, I think that's going to allow them to maybe sprinkle in some passes and things like that. So if you're Miami, you do not want the run game that has struggled to get going in any sort of way. You want to make sure that that's locked down, and then you can be fine on the, maybe you're setting up 3rd and long situations, things like that, make it more difficult, more pressure on the passing game. And McDonald's a threat, I guess, at tight end, but I think to me, the biggest, and I say tight end because it feels like, some tight ends have been able to have catches against Miami. It just feels that way. I'd have to look it up to make sure, but just something to watch for. But I think Terry's the big one. Touched on the defense with Wilson, and they've got other guys as well, linebacker situation. But the X factor to me, I think, Nasruddin, I think, with the lead in the team in tackles the last 2 years, comes back this year. He had over 100 tackles last year, 3 career interceptions as well. Missed the first game recovering from a knee injury. They said he's able to play tonight. So to me, he's an X factor in the sense that how much will he play? What kind of impact can he make? And what we saw from him last year, I felt like he built on his from the year before, that step up a little bit more tackles, a little bit more production. So maybe he's going to take a jump even more this year. And certainly for a guy like him, he wants to have a win over Miami and do anything he can. But I think he's the one to watch. Good size at 6'4", safety, and obviously can present some issues there. But once again, how much will he play? How much of an impact can he make in this first game? So we'll see how that goes. That's kind of the things I'm looking at with Florida State, players to watch. Obviously, a lot of tension on the quarterback situation. But I think these are the 3 guys. If I'm a Miami fan, I'm looking at tonight, or Florida State. I think these 3 guys need to play well, particularly the top 2. But then, I think that X factor situation, you always want to have a guy that plays well in big games that you need. And I think he's got the potential. It's just a matter of, like I said, with how well will he be, how healthy is he based on that. So touching on a few things, and also a little bit later, I want to show you guys, I got some game film of 3 Miami recruits. Not 3 Miami recruits. There's 3 guys that I want to focus on. Anyways, I got some game film, so I want to put that up. I worked on some clips, so I definitely want to do that a little bit later here. But once again, not trying to go too long. Once again, I appreciate everybody for stopping on. Hopefully the audio is okay. A little disappointed to hear that. Had some issues with that in the past, so I thought it was fixed and that kind of thing. So I apologize, and hopefully I can get that thing going moving forward. 904 Hurricane. I think that's a good question, right? Is there any way this is a trap game for Miami? Even all the FSU analysts are picking Miami to win. Is FSU that bad? Yeah. I was talking to an FSU fan recently and just kind of wanted to get his take. And he's always provided good insight on the team, and just feels like this is a really weak Florida State team and doesn't think much of them or that they're going to be able to score many points. And I think maybe, I haven't seen what the FSU analysts are saying, but I think that's some of the things that they're recognizing. With that being said, as far as a trap game for Miami, look, Miami lost its last 3 games last year, right? I understand there's some new players, some new changes that have been made, and hopefully it lasts the rest of the year. But it's hard to shake that from your mindset, because it's not just that they were undefeated leading up to that point. They finished the season with 7 losses. So I think if you're talking about can it be a trap game, look, we don't know exactly how good this Miami team is. Certainly there's a lot of things to be excited about based on some of the things we've seen the first 2 games. However, you want to make sure that you're still on point and you're really tightening up. Again, you've seen some weaknesses in the sense that, look, the Miami defense gave up over 30 points last week, over 500 yards. You're still waiting. Look, I think what you have at defensive end, Quincy Roche, Jalen Phillips. I saw a comment earlier just expecting Jalen to have a big game. I think both those guys week in and week out need to play well, because I don't think that there's a lot of impact players on defense at this point. I think what we saw from Bubba Bolden last week was great. I think he's got a potential to put his name in that category of an impact defensive player. So I think that's good to see, a good start. I think you talked about Al Blades Jr. Let's see if these corners can take that jump and be consistent, where you're not questioning every time that they face a good receiver, is that receiver going to have a big game? DJ Ivey needs to step up as well. Gervin Hall, good last year, but I think you're wanting to see more from Gervin. So let's see if we can see a jump from him to be in that mix and make a true impact. I think at linebacker, it's hard to say that there's impact players there. Zach McLeod hasn't shown that he's an impact player throughout his career. Now he has more of an opportunity to do that, more than ever. And let's see how he does. Last week, he had the turnover. He had, I think, 8 or 9 tackles. So maybe there's some positive there from that first game, but let's see it again. That's the thing. You got to keep doing it. Bradley Jennings Jr. has played quite a bit the first 2 weeks. Is he that impact player? Let's see. Let's see him make big plays. And I think also maybe this is some of the things you're looking at with the Miami defense. And I think it comes up with the defense a little bit more, but you want to see these young guys. Maybe there's some young guys in there. Maybe Sam Brooks is a potential impact guy, and you see flashes, so maybe he'll get a little bit more playing time. Maybe in a game like this will be a good thing for him to really make that impact and that consistent impact that you're hoping to see. So maybe a Corey Couch in that spot. You talked about him earlier. Maybe he's a guy that can really vault himself. So I think the defense, in terms of it being a trap game, I think maybe we're just still learning exactly how good this team is. Once again, there's positives. I just think that there's a little bit of holes going on right now. I don't think Florida State's offense has enough to expose Miami's holes on defense. If they do, if that changes, if Florida State's able to go over 30 points in this game, I think there's issues with the Miami defense if that happens. I just don't expect that to happen. So as far as a trap game, look, we've seen Miami not play well all the time. They've been inconsistent or they've been not very good, however you want to look at it. But that consistent production in a game like this, again, you've won 3 in a row in the series. You cannot be complacent. Go ahead and get that 4th win in a row and set up that 3-0 matchup against Clemson, number 1 Clemson in 2 weeks. So I think, in short, to answer the question about is it a trap game, I just feel like that we're still learning exactly how good this Miami team is. So I don't know if trap game is the right word, but you want to see them play well. I think they're going to be fine in this one because I just don't think Florida State has enough impact players. I don't think they're clicking right now, and I think a lot of that has, a lot of football, regardless of what level it is kind of catching teams at the right time. And I think if you're Miami, you're catching Florida State at a good time, even though they're coming off a bye week. But they lost that first game. The coach isn't coaching tonight. There's uncertainty at the quarterback. The consistency and the offense. When teams have good offenses, you have a chance to win any game. I feel that way. But when your offense is struggling, it's tough to really get it together and put together that dream performance that you're hoping for. Not to say that it can't happen. I mean, anything can happen. You guys know that. But it just based on things we've seen, I think that's the things why people at Florida State, fans, analysts, things like that, are a little bit down, is because they're just not seeing it from the offense. And it's hard to see much more from that based on things they've already seen. And real quick on 904, just King's leadership in general. I think I felt that way going to the end of the year, whether things are looking good or bad or whatever, whoever they're facing. I just feel like he's such a difference maker, a calming presence, a guy that can make plays, a guy that can lead, a guy that has done it. And I think regardless if they're having a bad drive or a bad quarter, I think he's a guy that will be able to just kind of keep things going and keep things rolling. I just don't see those bottoming out performances that we've seen from the offense, getting shut out in a bowl game, not being able to inject life into an offense. I just don't see that happening this year. And it's not to say that they're going to go undefeated. I just feel like that even when things look bad, he's going to be able to, for the most part, get out of that. And I think hopefully that obviously doesn't happen tonight or anytime soon. But, I just feel like if they do hit that little bit of a lull, I feel like he's got the potential, the ability certainly to dig them out a lot quicker than maybe it looks like at the time. Whether that's that big play that you saw last week, I think that was encouraging. One of the reasons why you like that is that big play ability is because, if you are grinding for example, if you're grinding the ball into the offensive line and the defensive line is able to stop, then all of a sudden, you have a guy like Cameron Harris that reels one off, that breaks one off. 2 runs over 60 yards already this season, and then Jalen Knighton has that big play potential obviously as well. Okay, so what else have we got? Yeah, you feel bad for Blackman. Hurricane Millie's here. Okay, glad you're here. Appreciate you as well stopping in. I agree. And that's the thing you've learned about this series in terms of the playing hard thing. I mentioned it last night. I think in general, and with college football, with the way that the fans, the stadiums are set up, I think it favors the road team in terms of the home team typically not going to get that boost of energy, that boost of momentum that you typically would in a normal game, in a normal setting. So I think it always favors the underdog. It favors the road team not to have to deal with that momentum in a sense. Although I know there'll be fans there tonight for sure, and as loud as possible. But I just think in college football in general, I think the road environment will certainly be different and maybe easier in a way not easy, but just a little easier for the underdog road team to play better. But we'll see. Again, and I know the week off makes a difference typically. So we'll see. We'll see what kind of adjustments Florida State makes. And the one thing to note with Mike Norvell, Florida State's head coach, not coaching in this game, he's their play caller on offense. So I think that takes away from them a little bit. And so it'll be interesting to see, because it's not just that the head coach isn't going to be there, kind of the face of the program in a sense or in a way, but the play calling, and not all head coaches call the plays. So I think that is the big part in terms of maybe the impact there. So, and Mike Jeezy, I think that's if I were to guess, I think a lot of fans would predict a score like that. I think you're expecting Miami to go ahead and, put up the 40 points and Florida State to struggle and just kind of really pull away. I know it's 11-point margin on the point spread, but I think a lot of people, it feels like a lot of Miami fans feel like things are going to get stretched out a little bit. You're going to see a little bit more of a blowout. Miami is 6-0 against Florida State when they're ranked and Florida State's not. Obviously 2 tight games recently, but I think, Miami fans are thinking of that and just feel like, Florida State's not going to be able to do much on offense or do much on defense and slowing down Miami. So we'll see how that goes. Heat Lakers, yeah, that'll be interesting. Hopefully the Heat get that win on Sunday. Disappointing last night, but still got 2 chances to get it done. And I agree on the running back situation that they do have the ability to make plays, and I think that's such an important thing. So Rod's here. What's going on? Glad you're here. I want to show a little bit about Miami's defense, a little bit more. I'm talking about them. We've talked about some other position groups. Once again, hopefully the audio is okay. Appreciate all the support. Everybody stopping in here. So this is just a way to talk about the defense a little bit. These clips are from spring ball, just full disclosure. Obviously not being able to be out there for fall practices and things like that, but just want to show you guys some clips. It's just a way to, just get a little bit of a reminder, kind of show you guys a little bit. I think it's better than nothing is the way I look at it. So just talking about the defensive ends with Quincy Roche, Jalen Phillips. I think I like what I've seen from Jalen so far. I do think big games are still coming for him moving forward. I think the thing that really strikes you when you watch him is that burst off the line. I think that's the big thing. That just that initial burst is very rare for that spot that he has. And I think as he gets more games under his belt, you're going to see more and more production. I think he's going to finish plays with sacks, tackles for loss. I think you've seen moments where maybe he could have, but I think it's coming. I don't think it's going to be like this all year. I think tonight's an opportunity. Like I said, I don't think much of the Florida State running backs and their running game. And then with Blackman, I think there is some potential there to get him on the ground as well. So this is a game for Jalen. I think this is a game that Jalen has a chance to have a good one. And Quincy as well. I think Quincy's been consistent. I think, again, Quincy's that guy that has that potential to really make that impact, really provide a lot of pressure on the defense. And one of the things that Blake Baker said when I asked him, but he feels comfortable in the way Cameron Williams is playing as that second unit defensive lineman, number 22. So he's played well in the 2 games. He likes what Jafari Harvey's been able to bring as well. So I think that's important that you feel comfortable and confident in 4 defensive ends, not just the first 2. And I think that's a good sign because then again, it gets those top 2 guys. If they do need a break, they feel like they can get off the field and be fine and then get back in there when they get a little bit of a breather. But I don't think there's any question. You want to see those guys on the field as much as possible. One of the things I like to see is I like that they've been rotating between right and left end. I think that's good. The way they talk about it, they kind of decide on their own, or they're kind of basically going off feel and things like that. So I think that's good that just to, that they're not stuck in the one position, that they're able to make that move. This is just a look at the defensive backs. It's a tackling drill that they'd like to do. Tackling is such a big deal even for the cornerbacks. It shows you that they're trying to get through on that block, and you're seeing some guys like Amari Carter right there. So that's good. Okay, yeah, I think, kind of looking back with, do you think Jalen will get drafted? Yeah, I think Jalen definitely gets drafted. I think he's got a potential to be a high pick. I think he's got the athleticism, the height, weight, speed strength that you're all looking for. I just think the only thing that you're waiting for with Jalen is that production. If he plays all the games, like I said, continues to pile up sacks, that 5 to 12 sack range, definitely want to be up there in that high, as close to 10 as possible. Tackles for loss, let that be there. And I think he's going to, I think his production will determine where he'll get drafted, because I do expect him to get picked. I'd be surprised if he returns to Miami for another year, even though, all the players are able to, and he's just a junior anyways. And no, Rousseau technically, I'm not sure exactly how the Big Ten is allowing guys that said that they were leaving and signed with agents. I just don't think Rousseau is a possibility. It's completely different because the Big Ten season was essentially canceled, whereas the ACC at the time was planning to move forward. So I don't think there'd be much leeway for Greg, and and it's different situations, and he's already kind of made his decision, or he has made his decision. I don't think. And last thing I knew, I think he was training in northern Florida. I don't know if Pensacola, I think maybe. So he's not been around as far as I know. That was the last thing I heard on where Rousseau was training. So once again, I think, kind of looking right here, just at some young defensive tackles, with Holly right there, Jared Harrison Hunt is a guy that you've seen flashes. I like to see that. He's getting in there, getting reps. I think that's important. John Ford and Nesta Jade Silvera still looking for that, to be really strong and consistent. That's the big thing, and reliable. But keep your eye on Harrison Hunt, 81 there, when he gets in the game, because I think he does have a good future. He's got good athleticism. You see him right here, 81, a good chance to make plays and get opportunities. And he's a guy that, once again, you're hoping as a young player gets good reps this year and continues to grow as the season moves on. And I think it's such a key position at the defensive tackle spot. You can't have enough guys producing at that spot. I just think it's so important because you never know what's going to happen, and it's good to be able to get some guys some reps there. Corey Couch right there, number 23. And just kind of a last look, there's Keyshawn Washington, once again, was here in spring ball. Just a young freshman to look for at safety there. So it's just a way to, once again, just kind of show you guys some different things with practice videos. And once again, I want to wrap this thing up. I'll probably wrap it up with the high school highlights that I've showed that I was kind of breaking down already. I didn't get a chance to finish it, but I'll have stuff up next week, and we'll talk about that a little bit in a bit here. And as far as, let's talk about some other things. Yeah, Amari's not striking hit of the day, I know. And I actually asked Amari about that this week because, look, no player had more ejections last year. He had 2 ejections last year with targeting. No player. There was one other player that had 2. Nobody else had more than 2 last year. He understands that he feels like he has a reputation, and we've seen it the first 2 weeks in each game that he's gotten flagged for a targeting call. However, they've rescinded the call, so that's good. He stayed in the game. But I think the one thing that stands out to me, first off, he takes it in stride. A couple things that stand out to me about particularly that last hit. He admitted that he was a little late on it. He recognized the play, but he was a little late on it. And he felt like if he was there a little bit sooner, it wouldn't have been a big hit, but he felt like it could have been a pick. And I feel like that's a interesting way to look at it, that, he felt like he needs to be there and get the interception, not the big hit. So that stands out to me on his reaction. Number 2, he admits that he does feel like referees do their homework. There is a scouting report out on him. But the thing I wanted to talk about, the other thing was, it was asked, because you're looking at it like, okay, even if it's, whether it's a targeting or not or whatever, either way you're sending a message. And if you're staying in the game, are you looking to send a message later on, was the question essentially to the receivers that, you're here. And I think a lot of people assume that you're definitely making sending a message when you're with the big hits on defense at any position. And Amari actually said that he wasn't. He's just out there playing ball. He's not trying to send a message. I thought that was an interesting thing, because you can understand if he is. You understand that players do that and want to do that. But maybe he was saying it to kind of like take some attention off of the big hits. But they've been there, and it's certainly close. It feels like close each time. But I think the big thing that what he said that stands out to me was, that he feels like he's a little late, even if he recognizes the play that they've been running. It was that particular play that he mentioned. But I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing if he's trying to get there a little bit sooner, make a big play with an interception, because obviously that would be a bigger impact. So, yeah, almost game time for everybody. Hopefully everybody's staying safe. And I know people are probably super disappointed not going to be there. And even if you are, it's not going to be the same environment as you guys are used to. So hopefully, regardless of how you guys are watching it, hopefully it's a good time, and hopefully you guys have a good time. But yeah, only a few hours away before we get this thing started. If you guys want to, go ahead and drop your predictions here. What do you think the score is going to be? Because I think a lot of people think it's going to be that 14, 21 point type blowout. I think people think Miami's going to go ahead and prevail. Once again, they don't see it from the Florida State offense. They don't see it from the defense enough to be able to stop what Miami's able to do. And but yeah, go ahead and drop in the comments your predictions. And I think the one thing that maybe with Miami's offense also, and I touched on it earlier, but I think that running game, I know putting pressure on with the offense and passing the ball and doing all those things, but I think with the run game, you still want to make sure you're able to run against a team like this with good size. Again, a guy like Wilson up front, who certainly has potential to really disrupt a lot of things. But I think you want to make sure you're still productive. And I think the big thing is, if Florida State's able to take away those big runs like Louisville was not able to, what kind of production are you getting from your run game? And I know it all goes into it, right? Big plays, it counts. Obviously, it counts big time. But just want to make sure, you're not getting, if those 60-yard runs are cut down to 5 or 6 or 7 because of the line of attack is stopped a lot quicker, are you going to be able to get those 10 to 20-yard runs that you need to keep moving the chains forward? You don't want to be stuffed on the line a lot. I think that'll be the thing that I'll be watching other than the wide receiver play. But just that might be a potential for Florida State. If they're looking to stay in the game, being able to bottle up that run game might be a thing there. As far as Jaron Williams, Jaron went to JUCO the last thing I knew. They actually interviewed him. You guys can check out that interview if you guys are interested. I think it's on YouTube. Garden City JUCO in Kansas. I think Garden City's where the one he's at. 63 year, yeah, 40. That's what I'm talking about. You guys are expecting the big game, the big blowout, and obviously you remember that losing streak, so you would certainly take this big win when Florida State's down, that you're able to take advantage of that. And I want to show this real quick. These are highlights I was working on from last night's high school game, and we'll get right into it here. It's the Chaminade Bishop Verot game, and there's some guys to watch here. Get this set up real quick. Hold on 1 second. We've got one more left. Okay, here we go. So this is Thad Franklin, Miami commit. So basically just a few runs from him. This is from last night's game. I will have full video of Thad and the other guys on the website in a little bit. But I just want to show you guys, this is basically from the first half. I wasn't able to go through all the way through the game because I wanted to get this up there. But just kind of looking at some runs by Thad, number 1 here, running back. He's a commit. You're looking at a bigger back, about 220 pounds or so, 215, that kind of range. Kind of built a little bit more like Don Chaney, obviously more than Jalen Knight if you're comparing them. And to me, I think both of those two freshmen Miami has now, based on what I've seen from Thad, I just think they have a little bit of an advantage over Thad. But certainly Thad plays well in this one. Kind of an overmatched Bishop Verot team defensively. Not a lot of Division I prospects. They do have number 8. You don't see him out here. He's an athlete that is committed to Miami. That's Malik Curtis. So this is a nice run by Thad here. I wish he could have stayed on his feet right there and really plowed through and really finished off the run a little bit better. But you're still seeing that, downhill running up the middle between the tackles, kind of exploding through the middle. And that's kind of what you're getting with that. You want to see that moving forward. So yeah, and Chaminade's one of the teams locally that is getting here. And he just kind of literally walks into the end zone there. Makes that nice one cut, and then goes in and gets that touchdown. Good to see. You want to see him in the end zone. Goes for over 100 yards in this game. This is a nice run here. Once again, I'd like for him to rip through that last tackle. But he gets a big play over 30 yards. So this is number 7, also with Chaminade, Davion Gaz. He's a freshman. Miami has already offered him another. You look at him here. He was one of those highly regarded players as a youth player. Actually, reportedly had an offer from Miami as a 7th grader. So he's going to be one to watch for in the future if you're curious about paying attention to kind of recruits moving forward. But you see some nice footwork there. He about lost the ball, but he holds on to it and keeps moving, gets some productive plays. He also went for over 100 yards in this game. On these clips, I don't have the big plays like from what we saw from Thad, but you see a little bit of ability. You see right there on contact, he's moving forward, so that's good to see. And they've got a nice backfield, and that's where their strength is with Chaminade. They've got the 2 running backs. Passing game's a little lacking, so they're going to get a lot of attention there. Get stuff behind the line there. And this is number 8. This is also a Miami commit, Malik Curtis. He's used in the return game, and that's where I think he can have a role for Miami. And this is the opening kickoff, and you're going to see it right here from him, kind of his abilities. And he uses a kick returner and at punt returner. He's listed as an athlete, plays receiver mainly for them. I think he's got a chance of being a good corner, even though he doesn't play much corner for them. I just like his length, his athleticism. But yeah, so Bishop Verot, they get him to the ball right here on reverses and handoffs. Just try to get them the ball as much as possible. Just a few clips of him. And once again, just going to have full video on these guys on the channel later next week once I get through this game stuff. But just want to show you guys these clips that I was working on. And shout out real quick to Elite Scouting Services for providing the video, sending them my way. This game was played in Fort Myers, so that was good to get this film and good to see Miami guys going at it. And once again, not a lot of games going on right now in South Florida, so it's good that get a look at some guys moving forward. So I'm gonna wrap the show up soon. Maybe some final comments, any questions you guys might have. I think you guys did your score stuff going on. Definitely going on. Torian, as far as any injury reports, nothing to report right now. There's going to be stuff today in terms of the unavailability report. Check the website. It's usually about an hour to 2 hours. Miami will release that before game time. So we'll definitely have that and have some reaction as well. So definitely look for that because you are expecting names because we've seen names the first 2 weeks, whether it was for the season or for games. So definitely check that out as well. But as far as the way Manny was talking about it this week when he was asked, he didn't really address some things, but maybe you want to make sure Gervin Hall, for example, is ready to go. Cameron Harris has dealt with some stuff. I doubt he sits out or anything like that, but he's left games and just kind of smaller stuff. Jalen Phillips with a little thing, but he had said that he felt like he was going to be okay, that he's fine. So you're not expecting anything. Jeremiah Payton I think is a big one, unavailable last week. You'd like to see him back because I'd hate for him to have the slow start to the season on a year he's trying to break out and really be productive and find a role in this offense. I think it's important for him to get out there because I do think he has ability. And I think this is a big game for him, just kind of being from the Jacksonville area, that Miami, Florida State battle, certainly a big game for him and for a lot of guys as well. But I think he'd like to get in there. And yeah, Larry Hodges is the other one who was unavailable. So we'll see if they're available tonight. And Hodges is a guy that, that third string tight end doesn't have a big role on the team, but certainly you'd like to have him back. Kind of just wrapping things up. They had a nice feature on College Game Day on Lou Hadley and Jose Borregales this week. I think it was great to see. I think the strength of Miami's special teams with those two guys, you'd like to still get those big returns in the special teams. But you like what you have there, Jose. A lot of people are excited. There's a lot of confidence that they can run him out there. He gets that 57-yard field goal last week. And he felt like that was an important part for him to show Manny Diaz to have confidence in him. And it's not that Manny doesn't think he can kick. He just wants to, a little bit more conservative on going for it on long field goals. And I think that's essentially erased from now on the rest of the season because he did it in game 2, proved that he can drill it. And I think he's going to be given those opportunities as much as possible moving forward. And I think that's what's so important about early season success, early season identity, is really establishing yourself those roles, setting in place. That's what I'm talking about with the wide receivers. You want to establish that those guys are threats. You don't want to go multiple games in a row at the beginning of the year where you're off to slow starts and not really ultra productive. So important for those guys to step up as well. I think the biggest thing to me in this game, kind of like last week, I just think De'Aaron King is that difference maker. I want to see him really have his hands on the ball more, passing the ball, really let loose and really show what he can do. And it's not that he's being held back or anything like that. I just feel like I think he's got a lot of ability. I want to make sure I think it's important for Miami to really maximize it. I think for Miami to have any shot at a Clemson upset next week, I think it's going to rely on De'Aaron King and his ability to really rise to the occasion with the offense. So I think you want to see the offense. I think the scores you guys are mentioning, the 40-point stuff, you want to see that tonight because it'll make you feel better about moving forward against the Clemson team that you're looking to compete with, maybe pull off that upset, but certainly compete with given the last two meetings. Big thing on defense, got to get those yards down. This Florida State offense is struggling, both running the ball and passing the ball. Louisville offense was way different last week. They had the 500 yards. They had the guys at every position, and then they all did well. The quarterback, running back, receiver, they got over 30 points, though over 500 yards. The big running game, Malik Cunningham at quarterback, all those things. It is different with this Florida State team. They do not have those guys at quarterback and at running back. Terry can make plays, but they've got to have someone throwing them the ball. Even if you make catches, you wonder if it's sustainable or they're going to be able to shut that down and prevent Blackman from getting into a good rhythm in the passing game. You don't want to see any of that. You don't want to see Florida State really threaten getting to that 30-point score. I think if they get into that high 20s, I think that's a disappointment based on some of the things that they've shown already. You do not, as a Miami defense, you do not want to see Florida State being able to score points. I think for Florida State, for them to stay in it, they've got to keep it close and somehow keep Miami to field goals and rather than touchdowns. I think that's the key for Florida State. Kind of get into that, maybe get over 20, get in that 24-20 range kind of thing. If you're Florida State, that's the way that they have to look at this game. And if you're Miami, you definitely want to get everything rolling. You want to get the passing game going and the run game. You want to establish identities early on in the game. And really kind of get those first two touchdowns, that 14-0 or maybe even 14-7, that 14-3 lead, something like that with those 14 points. I think that's going to be important to get that early on in the game. You definitely don't want to be sitting at 7 or 3 for a long time to really give Florida State some momentum, some confidence in this game. You definitely want to put it away and go ahead and get that score, the scores that you guys are hoping for, the 31-13, the 38-13 like 904 said. I know the 63-0 that Hurricane Millie wants, just 305 wants that 45-10. So those kind of things that you want to see those big games, but it's going to start with a good momentum early on in the game and then really just kind of continuing that grind and getting everybody involved. Rhett Lashley speaks on balance. That will still be the focus, even though that there's been some imbalance right now with the tight end, Brevin Jordan. No tight end has more yards than him or more catches than him. And then only 2 running backs in the country have more rushing yards than Cameron Harris. So the big thing is to get those wide receivers involved, get them to be a little bit more efficient, cut down on the drops. I'd like to see them get in the end zone. They've not reached the end zone yet in the first 2 games. So it'd be great to see Pope or Harley or Wiggins, any of those guys, or Peyton. It'd be great. Get those guys in the end zone moving forward with the big game. So going to wrap this thing up. Appreciate everybody. Miami Flow Football is here. I hate to drop off right when you jump on. But I'm glad you can always watch it back. Hopefully the audio sounded okay, or maybe you can turn up. I don't know. I'm going to work on that. That's on me. I apologize once again. It's all this is a work in progress. Hopefully you guys like this 2:00 time slot. I figure get this pregame show in, and I'll keep working on some things, some creative things that I'd like to do with this. But once again, just appreciate everybody. Tons of support. It's great, and hopefully you guys enjoy the game tonight. Wherever you're watching the game, hopefully you get that good result. And as always, immediately after the game, you're going to see videos of the players, of the coaches after the game, reacting to the game. Also, you're going to see plenty of articles and on the game. You're going to see the top 10 instant reaction thoughts on the game. These are all things that if you guys haven't checked out InsideTheU.com on the website side of things, definitely do that because we pump out plenty of content right after the game. And also for people that are up late, I promise you that I know that first week I was up till 4 a.m. working on content, just continuing to put up stuff. And then tonight I'm in it for the long haul as well, win or lose. So I'll do as much as I can tonight as well. I appreciate everybody. Once again, just appreciate your support. I appreciate you guys watching and sharing. Go ahead and hit the like button if you guys like the channel, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And if you'd like to stay up on the Hurricanes and more coverage. So definitely appreciate it. Mitzag, that's awesome. Glad you're here. I'm glad you popped on here, and just want to thank you for your support. I enjoy doing anything I can for you guys to give you guys as much information on the team as possible. And once again, lastly, injury report. Check that out. Positive report, anything like that. Status report, unavailability report. That's going to be out pretty soon. So in the next hour or two. So definitely check the site, refresh that. And if there's any big news, we'll definitely react to it immediately, even before the game starts. So definitely check that out. But appreciate everybody. Enjoy the game. Thanks for stopping by on the Inside the U pregame show, and I will talk to you guys soon.